So imagine that you started your first day as a software developer. I guess many of you have been there. I do remember my first day. It looked like this. I went to the first meeting with the first dev that I met, my manager, and we went through all of these technologies that I had no clue about. And I do remember the feeling. How is it that they are telling these technologies, you're trying to write it down, and you don't even know how to spell it, and so on. And it's like, oh God, what's going to happen with me? And that's usual. If you are working for a company, it's very likely that they have a huge complex system because that's what makes money. And it's a big issue, or it's a big problem if you are a junior developer. How are you going to be the person that really helps with this heavy lifting with all these technologies, and not just somebody that's just there and learns about stuff and so on? So how can we accelerate this process? And how many juniors, or who considers themselves a junior? Nice. Then the other, how many seniors? Okay. So the talk is for both of you, actually. So I'm going to talk about what can you do if you're a senior, and how can you be a bit more conscious about it? How can you help juniors? And also, if you're a junior, what's okay to ask from a senior, how to find your place, what are good strategies to learn, and so on. And you could ask the question, or maybe you started to wonder, who the heck is this guy talking about this and why I'm talking about this? So I'm Tamas Kokeny. It's a Hungarian name. Don't worry about it. My nickname is Egg in Hungarian. It's called Tojás. So if you don't remember, just call me Egg. It's totally fine. I guess it's easier to remember that. You could also ask, why is a Hungarian guy in Singapore? I'm not at all Singaporean. I'm just visiting for 2 months because I love the city. It's an amazing place, amazing food, amazing people, amazing weather. And I also reached out, can I speak in a meetup? Because why not? And I'm the CTO of Bobcats Coding. Bobcats Coding is a small software agency or software studio. We help people to build products, not just the development part, but design, product management, and everything. But that's not the interesting part. I'm the same person. Yeah, I got fat. Never mind. But I was the head education of a programming bootcamp in Hungary, and actually in Slovakia and Czech Republic for 8 years. And in that institution, we had more than 3,000 students becoming developers. And I've seen this pattern, these people going to the jobs and talking with these people, how is it? And also talking with the companies, because we had a business model where we were placing these students and we were talking with the senior engineers as well, if they like the people and so on. So I got a bit of an information or experience about how is it to be a junior and how is it to be the senior that basically onboards this junior person. Maybe you have already heard about this idea about software, that software development is closer to craftsmanship than to engineering. It started to become kind of a de facto idea in the last couple of years, not just now, but more like 20 years ago, that there is this act. It's not just about science and engineering, but it's closer to some kind of a craftsmanship, how we create software and so on. And there are quite a few ideas around this, that we do agile development and lean development and so on, and extreme programming and so on. And these are really, really nice ideas. And it basically shifts our mindset about how we develop software. But it's not just this kind of thing happened in education as well. And when we are developing our software development, the first idea is, okay, what are the hard skills and how are we going to develop software and so on. But the biggest skill that you have to acquire if you are a software developer is constant learning. Because from now on, and from the beginning of your career, and still now, I'm in the industry from 2009, and still I have to learn LangChain because it came out nowadays. And I cannot stop, even though I have more than 10 years of experience. So this is the most important skill, but somehow it's overlooked. Somehow we don't start to think about it. Okay, I'm going to be the best learner. just about technologies and so on. And actually, the same kind of idea how it changed about software development, and there are quite a few books about craftsmanship and so on, and how you build software, like from clean code and so on. There are books about how to learn. And we can learn a good amount of them. So this is from '92. That's when they started to think about, okay, this is software craftsmanship and the programmer and so on. But in education, the progressive education movement, it's from the ancient Greeks. And there are quite a few ideas, but also there are books and ideas from John Dewey from the end of 1880s, and also beginning of '70s, the experiential learning model. And we can learn a good amount of things from here. And I'm not going to go into exact details about the science, but I basically cheated and I took a good amount of ideas from these books and so on. But okay, there are these ideas, but usually the implementation is the tricky part. If you read clean code, you read it, oh, it's so nice, but oh, how am I gonna really read clean code? That's the hard part. And in this talk, I really want to give you a couple of ideas that, okay, what's the day-to-day that you can implement something and you can really do something in the next day to learn easier or be more useful or something like that. So the first idea is to set up the learning environment. And let's talk about these two. Maybe you haven't heard about learning and performance zone. The idea here that there's two ways that you can approach a problem. One is the performance zone. Performance zone is that you approach a problem, you think about what's the most performant way that I'm going to achieve this. And usually that's 95% of the time, this is how you are basically approaching problems. When you are washing the dishes, what's the least amount of time and most performant way that I'm able to do the dishes? The other way of thinking is the learning zone, when you are giving yourself space and time, and it's not, the most important part is not performance, but rather how am I going to learn this thing and how I'm going to be able to retrieve this whole idea later in different contexts and so on. And in learning zone, you have to create an environment where it's totally okay to fail. It's totally okay to try things and fail again and so on. So it should be some kind of a process where you're able to repeat stuff and get back to something if it's not good enough yet. And also, what's really important in every cycle, you have to reflect. And actually, that's the hardest. So when you are starting to do something, you start a new technology in your first job and you start to write something, right away you get to performance zone because, oh, I have to finish this. I have to show to my manager that I'm okay, I'm worthy, and so on and so on. But actually, it's way better if you start to be conscious about it. I haven't learned this technology before. It's hard. It's all right to fail with it. Just start to write something, put it out there, test it, figure out why it doesn't work, and so on, and also be mindful about stuff that you don't yet understand. I guess you already started to think that next I'm going to be talking about Beyoncé, but actually Beyoncé also talks about this and actually approach this when she's on tour. Performance zone when they are doing the concert. Done that, amazing, but after that, basically the whole team, and a concert like this usually employs around 300-400 people. The whole crew goes to a movie theater and they rewatch the whole concert from yesterday. And they give space for go through on each of the small problems, they take notes, they basically reflect on the whole idea, what they did yesterday. And it's really important to have this mindset because it's really easy just do something. I haven't really understood what exactly happened, but it kind of worked. I was able to finish a Jira ticket or something like that, so I'm done. That's not something that's going to help you recreate the same kind of idea later or use that idea in different contexts and so on. Another hard issue is to find a team. When you join a new company, usually what junior people are thinking about that, okay, I just pick the team. Sometimes you are able to pick the team, and sometimes the team is choose for you. But somehow that's the idea that, okay, if you get to a team, that's you're gonna die there, and that's it. That's your destiny. But actually, it's really important that it's just a team, and especially with bigger companies, it's totally all right to change teams, and it's really important to figure out from the company's point of view if there is buy-in for the person, and also to basically check out if there is really team fit there. And if you're a junior person, it's totally fine to tell to your hiring manager or something like that, that I've spent this amount of weeks here or month here, and there's nobody mentoring me, nobody's helping, the vibe is not really good or something like that. That happens, and it's not something that you cannot talk about. That's totally fine, and you can change teams. And it's way more important to find a team where you're gonna be happy than to find a company. In many cases, people are asking me that, oh, I'm a junior, is it okay to, or is it a good idea to join this and this company? It's really gonna depend on that one guy or person that's gonna help you or not on the team. And if you're gonna be happy for the next couple of years. So I already started to talk about this to find a mentor. If you're a senior or you have some kind of a agency here, it's really important to be conscious about this and pick explicitly a mentor for a junior developer. And also not just dedicate a person, but also dedicate time. But what's also important if you are a senior developer, if you are a senior developer for somebody, it's very likely that they're going to idolize you on the long run. Not just on the long run, on the really short term. And it happens the other way around. When you're a junior person and you see the other, I don't know, they are in the industry for 20 years now, and I don't know, they are using VI and quite a few different tools that you have never seen, and they are writing a function in a couple of minutes that could take you a week to finish and so on. Remember, they are just people. Unfortunately, this whole job is about our way of thinking and about our brains, but it's not about your abilities. It's really about your experiences. And I really like this comic about it. I give you time to read it. So the only difference between a senior person and you, the amount of error messages that they have seen. That's it. And so if you weren't provided a mentor, that's also totally fine to ask somebody to be your mentor, or also ask HR or the hiring manager or somebody or your manager that I would like to get better. I would like to have dedicated time and dedicated person for mentoring. But it's also really important, and especially with these mentors, and basically to break down this difference, it's to meet with others in not just work context, but in different environments as well. Because when you meet these idols that are coding for 20 years and they're totally different, and you're thinking that you're not gonna be there, I promise you're gonna be, just you have to see a bunch of error messages. But you're gonna see that they have the same problems as you. They have a cat that misbehaved last night and so on. So they are just people, and they don't have a magical talent or something like that. So I think I don't have time for wrap up, so I would just summarize what we have talked about. So let's go to the next topic. What to learn? It's also important, okay, you have the space. You learn, you were able to give your space and also find somebody that mentors you and so on. But it's also important to be conscious about the things that you have learned or you are learning. One really important topic is familiarity bias. If you see something that's familiar, that means that you already gonna like that. But it's also happening with learning. you are not just thinking that you are liking it, but you also think that you know it. In many of the cases, if you learn something and you see a concept again and again, you think, oh, I'm familiar with this. I've seen this before. I know this. But I'm pretty sure if you're going to use that concept in an environment where it's not shown to you, but you have to come up with that concept, it's going to be way harder. For example, I was teaching solid principles the first time. If you don't know what solid principles are, you should read the Clean Code book. It's totally fine you don't know yet, but on the long run, please read it. it's an important thing. But basically, it's an abbreviation, and every letter is some kind of a principle. And when I was teaching it, I figured that I thought I know the solid principles. But when I was teaching it, I had to go through on each of them, and I had to explain all of them. And I figured that I always started to read the solid principles, and I got bored, and I only get until L. And when I started to read it, S was really familiar. I know the solid principles. Oh, okay. But I never went to I and D really deeply because I got fed up with it. So I had this idea that I know it, but when I had to teach the I and the D, I figured, oh, this is the problem. And you have to conscious with these ideas that just because you read the beginning of the documentation many times, it doesn't mean that you know the documentation. So you shouldn't cheat yourself. You should be conscious about the things that you don't know. It's also important to learn about the domain. It's not just about the tech skills, but also how that business works, how they make money, what are all the abbreviations that they are talking about, and so on. These are also really important, and you are not just paid for that you are able to write code. You're paid for that you are able to figure out big problems and basically help business problems by coding. Also, what I really advise if you join a company to read the architecture, and by reading I really mean open the whole code base and start to read it. For example, figure out where is the main function of that code base, how it's going to start there, what are the next thingies that's going to be code in the main function, and so on. Usually code bases are not really huge from the point of view that you are able to put it on a Kindle. If your company doesn't allow it, you will be able to do it differently. But for example, with my first job, I put the whole code base on the Kindle, and I was reading it on commuting. And it helped a lot to figure out what's there, what are the bits and nits, what's the coding style there, and I learned a lot just reading the code that I have to contribute to. Also, if quite a new tools are introduced, even like big tools like, I don't know, AWS or something like that, or build tools like Gradle or anything like that, I advise you to have some kind of a pet project and use the same tools. Even if it's an enterprise tool, it's really important to use it for smaller projects, because in these smaller projects, you will be able to see those error messages that you don't want to see in the real project. Or if you see those error messages, you've already seen them in a small project and you fix them. And you're not going to be totally scared that, oh, I deleted the whole database or something like that, because you already used those tools in a different environment where it was okay to fill with. And it's really not just the hard skills. It's really about coming down to communication skills, facilitation skills, giving feedback, receiving feedback, and so on. And a usual other thing that I see with juniors that they don't participate in the, demonstrations. That, oh, this more senior person will facilitate the meeting, the more senior person will show what we have done and so on. But I really advise you to step up even in your first week or something like that and demo the stuff that you have done and so on, even in cases where you're presenting for other teams or clients or something like that, because you're going to learn a lot from that. And also it's a good pressure to basically prepare yourself for these. The last part is to how to learn. One is learning by doing. I already mentioned that it's way better to have a project like a hobby project, because it's going to require you to go through a good amount of things that's going to help you in the long run to learn. And actually, if you have this experience with projects, I'm not going to go into the really depth of the cognitive science behind learning, but if you have some kind of an idea already in your brain and you connect another idea with it, it's going to stick better. And if you have a project and you're going to use a concept in it, that concept going to stick way better than just reading about it and that's it. I'm also don't have time to that. And it's also not a sprint. So don't think that, okay, in this project, we're going to use React. I have never used React, so this week I'm going to learn React and that's it. I'm using React basically since it came out, and I still don't think that I'm a React expert. I do think that I know some things about React, but it's really something that you have to learn continuously, and even the basic stuff. So another thing that I totally advise, if you're a senior and you're telling that big introductory meeting, all the technologies or the architecture, what's going to be your role and so on, if you are that senior, I advise you to retell that meeting a month later and 3 months later and so on. And if you're the junior one, ask for that again and again and again, because you're going to have way more context about it. Because on the first meeting, you're happy if you're able to write down the 80% of the technologies correctly or spelled correctly. But if you're working there already and you already tried most of the technologies, if that story is retold, you're going to understand way more depth from it. So I also advise to go through tutorials or even textbooks that you have learned from 2 years ago, a year ago, 3 years ago, or something like that, and read it 1 year later, because it's going to give you way more things. For example, I read Pragmatic Programmer quite a few times, and I learned a lot each time, and usually I've spent 5 years between these. Okay, another thing is one-on-ones. If you are not scheduled with one-on-ones, ask for them. I think one of the best things that you can have in a company is somebody that does a one-on-one with you. From their point of view, it's important that the company or the mentor is able to clear the expectations. If they're not clearing the expectations, then it's your job to do it. So basically, ask for, am I good enough in this case? What's the exact expectation for my progress in the next couple of months? What do you expect me from end of this year? Where should I be and so on? Because there's gonna be a good amount of myth, especially when you're a junior. What do they really expect from you? And what are the important things about your skills and not important skills and so on? Also, if you're a mentor, it's important to give a vision. If you're a mentee, I think it's hard to ask for a vision, so never mind. Also, if your mentor, it's important to coach your mentee. If you don't really get coaching, I really advise you to get help outside of the company, because in many of the cases, if you're stuck with some kind of a problem, in many of the cases, it's not necessarily a technical problem, more like how you're facing problems, how you're able to achieve stuff and so on. Regarding feedback, it's really important to receive feedback. So if they don't give feedback, ask for it explicitly. If you're on the other end, you're giving feedback, the most important part is to do it regularly and do it on behavior. And also have this positive mindset about it. There have been studies that the good ratio on positive and negative feedback is 6:1. So if you are below that, it's most likely the channel is gonna be getting worse. If you are in not that culture, that's totally fine in the company. But you can also ask about stuff, what went good, even if you are the junior person, because you can also learn from the good stuff, not just from the negative things. Because If they tell something that went good, that means that it's easy to repeat the same thing. And you're going to have way better results with repeating stuff that they already like. To receive feedback, actually, that's also a skill. What's the rule for receiving feedback? Treat it as the ugly sweater that you got on Christmas. Say thank you, smile, and go away. And that's it. Don't say back that it's ugly. Don't say back that I don't need it. That's not for me, anything like that. It's totally fine to think that, but outside. And why is it important? Because if you're going to resist the feedback, you're not going to get feedback later, because they're not going to like giving you feedback. And it's one of the most important things that you can get is feedback. So we also don't have time for this. So we went through quite a few ideas. So the last part is just some basic tools that you can use. If you are somebody that's helping another, so you are the more senior person and mentoring somebody else, a really good tool is to not to give the exact answer. It's basically this idea that don't give the fish, but rather the fishing rod. It's way better if you are able to coach them to get to the answer, to figure out the whole idea, the context about it together, and then they're going to be able to figure the answer. By explaining why, I really mean it's just giving the context about the problem. And in many of the cases, if they have enough context, you're going to be able to figure out the solution. I also advise this. When you are getting a question or giving a question to a more senior person and they just give the answer, also ask for the context. Why is that the answer? How could they come up with that answer, in which context, and so on? Another good technique, if you are the helper, is to never take the keyboard of the more junior person. It's intimidating, and yeah, I don't think I need to go into the details. From the other point of view, if you are stuck with some kind of a problem in your code, the best thing is to read the code out loud. And I'm not talking about the rubber ducking problem that you are talking with the rubber duck about the problem, but really read the code line by line and think about the code in a way that if you would be the interpreter or you would be the compiler, and even just use a paper and pen and use it as your memory and so on. And if you start to go through the code that way, it's most likely that you will be figure out what's going bad there. And also, your real job as a junior is to ask more questions that you're comfortable asking. And yeah, you have to ask not just a bit more, but double or triple times that you're comfortable with. It's way worse to have a person that's not asking questions and trying to figure out something, and because of that, they are always stuck, than to have the annoying person always asking questions. Actually, it's way better to be that annoying person than the one that stuck with problems. Another nice tool is pair coding. Yeah, I love this image. If you don't know this exactly, search for April Fool's Atlassian and pair coding, and they have a whole video about it's genius. Never mind. So with pair coding, if you don't have pair coding sessions, ask for them because these are really useful. But also you can be a bit more conscious about pair coding. And you can choose your style if in the pair coding sessions is who's going to be the active and who's going to be the passive one. And it's really nice if you're conscious about this. And actually, both can help a lot if the more senior person is the active one and you are able to watch that person, how they are writing code. But also the other way around, if you are the active one, you are writing code, the advices they are giving and so on. And if you are the active one, regardless if you're more senior or junior, it's really important to think out loud all the time. So basically, if you are doing something, just tell what are you doing exactly and so on, because it helps with the conversation way better. If you're the senior person, even go into details how you are exactly doing your job. Even tell about the keyboard shortcuts that you are using, the plugins that you are using, and so on. in your environment, because these are also really important informations and messages for junior people. So you could ask why you should do this if you're more a senior person. And one is you're going to learn your tools way better, because if you have to explain your tools, you're going to learn them way better. For example, with the unique keyword in the shell, I thought that I was using it right for 10 years. Then I started to teach shell scripting, and I figured, oh, I didn't know that you have to sort stuff before you are uniquing something. So I figured that I gave quite bad answers to investors about active users and so on for 10 years, because I wasn't teaching unique, and I haven't went to details. Also, if you're that senior person, it's one of the biggest impact that you can have to mentor somebody else. They're not gonna remember about the exact, I don't know, mapping or for cycle or anything like that they were writing. They're gonna remember you because you were the one that helped them and so on. And I guess we don't have time for questions, but thank you for the opportunity.